Good evening, everyone. I've been thinking about how I'm going to do this presentation for months after watching every month, the schools having these wonderful singers and presentations, and then of course we have the poetry tonight, and I'm thinking, oh goodness, great, I have to follow these lovely kids doing these poems. So it was great to hear all of that tonight. So Karen Thames is here with me to join me and to talk to you a little bit about our Human Resources Department here in Brunswick. Karen is the HR coordinator. She works directly with me, and she's been here 15 years. So the focus of the Human Resources Department is to really ensure that we're supporting staff so that they can do their best work, because ultimately if they're doing their best work and that they are satisfied with their job every day, that it's going to spill over into our students being successful and having academic success. So some of our responsibilities is we work with recruitment and hiring and retention of our quality employees. We administer and support and explain district benefits. We deal with employee relations, training and compliance, as well as workplace safety and wellness. So just a little bit of basic information. We have about 480 or so regular employees here in Brunswick, and then 200 plus temporary employees. That is everyone from substitutes, coaches, tutors, etc. Of those 200 plus employees, we have 115 active substitute teachers, substitute ed techs in the buildings. 78 new substitutes have been processed and hired since July 1. So we just wanted to give you that little information. We believe that with all of our advertisements and of course the board's support to increase the wages for substitute teachers and ed techs, that we've been able to really bring in some quality substitutes to support our staff in our buildings. We also deal with and work with several work agreements. We have the AFL-CIO collective bargaining agreement, along with the Brunswick Education Association for Teachers and the ed techs and the secretaries. And then several compensation plans: building administrators, food service workers, technology department, resource assistants, central office professionals, administrative support personnel. All of these compensation plans and collective bargaining agreements have different language, different benefits, different procedures and protocols. So it's our job to understand them and be able to help and answer questions and answer questions for staff, as well as ensure that the district is following what the negotiated agreements have stated. And this graph I wanted to share with you. We've been talking about the amount of new staff hires that we've had, and Karen, when I came on, she's like, goodness, it seems like it just never ends. And so we thought we'd collect some data, and we went all the way back to 2013. So you'll see for several years back in 2013 through 2016, we were hiring around 20 new people a year. Starting in 2020, of course, pandemic, and since it went from 62 to 136 to this past calendar year, from January to December of 2022, we hired 191 new staff members, which means we processed new staff members, which also means that in order to hire 191, at least some of those are also retirements and resignations, so we also exit them too. So you'll see that the Human Resources Department and Payroll Department has had an extensive jump and change in the amount of processing of just new hires over the past several years. Yes?
I just had a question about that. So does that include the 78 new subs? And so this is not necessarily new positions?
Correct. It's not necessarily new positions, yes.
These are hires that you're processing?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep. And it also includes like coaches and the temporary. Okay. But yes, it's all. We went through our database, and if they had a new hire date of 2022, there's 191 of them. Wow. And as of the end of the last month, we've brought on 30 new ones this calendar year so far.
Wow, thank you.
So when Dr. Potenziano asked, the departments and things to bring in these presentations, he wanted us to look at what do we do, what are our next steps, what are our hopes, what are our challenges, what do we want to look into next. And so for recruitment for the Human Resources Department, along with the entire Brunswick, all the departments, is we currently have online advertisements. We do a lot of have a big social media presence, and we do radio ads. I was on, at Dr. Potenziano's request, we are on the local radio station, which was actually quite fun. Hoping to go and do that again this summer for substitutes. That was a lot of fun. We do, as you all know, have a great and competitive salary and benefit package for our staff, which is a great recruitment tool, as well as Annie Young and Sue Ellen Santiago and myself went to USM and UMF career fairs last month, and hoping to do some more recruiting there. So next steps in recruitment, I found out that we have a career center over in the Landing that I'm going to connect with and find out how we can collaborate and see how we can utilize each other's services. Continue to have our social media presence, and also find other ways for advertisements. What we do online and on School Spring is great for our teachers and for ed techs, but trying to find ways that we're going to reach out to food service workers, custodians, bus drivers that might not necessarily access a teacher-based website. So trying to figure out the best way in which we can recruit all employees for Brunswick. So for onboarding, as mentioned, we have a new hire payroll paperwork. We do a lot of setup in order to make sure people are set up properly, that they are getting paid accurately. We review policies and procedures and protocols. We also have a connection with the technology department to make sure that people sign their acceptable use policy and understand that, and then the IT department can then create their Google accounts and all the other accounts that allow them to do all the necessary work here in Brunswick. And we've been working for the past several months to implement an online process. So after April vacation, currently right now our onboarding is paper. We print off a packet, we mail it to you, you come in and we complete it. And so our hope is after April vacation it will all be electronic. Once you are hired, it will send to your email. You'll be able to do the paperwork in the comfort of your home on your computer. If you're not able to do that, you'll be able to come into our office and be able to access a computer to do that here with us. We're hoping that will increase efficiency and the speediness of them being able to complete the work and us be able to set people up. This will also allow us to update our leave process protocols. Right now we use a paper inter-office mail, scan, and email process. So this will allow us to have workflows, and employees are going to be able to go online and complete a leave request or a professional leave request or a workplace injury, and it will then send automatically to our department or other departments for approval, and then it will have this automatic workflow to the people who need the information. So that will hopefully significantly increase the efficiency of the processes that we do right now with our paper protocols. But next step for onboarding, Assistant Superintendent Lambert and I are excited to start our video debut this summer. We're going to set up a video, some sort of recording studio, and we're going to kind of create some training videos for new staff and for current staff and make them very exciting and very engaging. But we're going to work hard on trying to review our protocols and our compliance for training and make things more efficient, both online but also in person too. What does training look like for our new staff, not only our regular employees, but for substitutes and temporary employees that should be having the required training and compliance in person? Also looking at onboarding days throughout the summer. When I came on in July, it was a revolving door of people coming in for finishing payroll paperwork. So we're hoping that to make that more efficient this summer, between the online process and being able to say that we have specific days that people can come in and do the paperwork, so that we can that our department itself is more efficient as well. Looking at what kind of swag can we give to new employees. Right now we give lanyards with their tags and the wonderful idea that Assistant Superintendent Lambert had with the emergency response plan for people with the QR codes, that people always have access to that. We also have pens, and we were giving out cups as well. So trying to find different things that people can kind of walk away as a new hire with something that is momentous of them being a part of our Brunswick family. And then continuing to connect all the pieces. once they're hired, once they're approved from our office, there are so many other people that need to be notified that they're here. So trying to make sure that those pieces are connected, that it's efficient, that it's effective, and that the communication lines are open so that people know when people are starting, when people are entering, how to do it. So it's that connecting of all the departments in the district. So this is just a list of some of the most of the district benefits and payroll that Karen and I deal with on a regular basis. Not only do we have to make sure that they're set up in our own system, but we have to collaborate with these third parties, with Anthem, with MSMA, with Navia, things of that nature, to make sure that they're set up appropriately and correctly. We also do a lot of work with FMLA and leaves of absences and maintaining personnel files, which is in our office, and making sure we're in compliance there. So that's just a list of some of the many things we do. So when it comes to retention, this is something that not only my office but the entire district does to retain quality and effective staff here in the district. We do have a new teacher induction program. We have a mentor team structure. Each 4 buildings have a team structure for mentoring new hires. We have a certification committee for teachers. We have staff evaluation protocols and procedures for all staff in the district. We support employees, ensure that we are here, we're present, that we're able to answer questions and available, and we review all the current procedures for efficiency and changes. So I can sit in meetings or be a part of things, and people reach out and say, I don't know why this is happening, or this is confusing, or this isn't helpful. And so trying to work with all the different departments and making sure that what we have in place is working and effective, and if it's not, why isn't it, and trying to get to the root of it to fix it. So next steps to continue with retention is to make sure that our new teacher induction program, we want to make it more robust. We want to continue to make it better. I think each year it's getting better. I'm working closely with Assistant Superintendent Lambert and Chief Academic Officers Sue Ellen, as well as Andrew McCullough, who is the induction coordinator this year, to make sure that our new teachers are supported and valued and heard. And then we're also going to use our last meeting to gather feedback from our new teachers to see what worked, what didn't, what did they wish would happen, so that our new people next year even get something better. So to continue reviewing that and expanding that. We also have working with the job description of our mentor teams to have them reach out and be able to reach out to new teachers before school starts. So having the connection during the summer, having that connection in August, so they actually have a connection with their mentor team before they walk into school. So not only do they know their administrator and do they know the HR department, but they also know another colleague in their buildings to ask questions, so that when they're walking in the first day of school, they're not, they have some faces they recognize. Again, continuing the training and supporting for new staff, and what does that look like, and how can we make that more efficient and better. And then updating our evaluation models, currently working with the BEA, the Teacher Association, to look at our professional evaluation, professional growth, the PPEG model, what that looks like, what can that look like, in hopes that next year we can really dive into that model and look at how we can make it more effective for what Brunswick needs to do, and then working as a team for that in the future. So if we can give good feedback to our staff and how to make our staff and how our staff can become better, how our staff can support their own professional growth throughout all different departments, then they'll be more, I think they'll feel valued, they'll feel more satisfactory in their jobs, and they'll be happy here at work. And when you're happy at work, it is infectious. So that's kind of our goal. And of course, we also have exiting and offboarding. So we do have people who retire and resign. And we, this year, have implemented an exit survey. And along with that, we also do lots of exit paperwork with, again, just as we notify and work collaboratively with third parties when people come into the district, we have to do the same thing when they leave. But next steps with this is we getting feedback from the exit survey, but what next? right? So it's like, how does the feedback support change, and what does that look like? So collecting this feedback is one thing, but then taking it and actually making change and making modifications based on that feedback is another. So that's kind of the goal with the exit feedback survey. And then again, streaming the online process as we're online processing the onboarding protocols. How does it then look when we're exiting people as well? So that's kind of our next steps for there. Another big part of our job, workplace safety, workplace injury, and staff wellness. So when new employees are onboarded, Karen does a great job of talking to them about what happens when you get hurt at work, what you should do, where you need to go. We also implemented a staff wellness challenge this past January. It was fun. It was a calendar where people could choose to do any or all of the activities on the calendar and then submit the calendar back to the HR department. And then we put all the entries into a hat and pulled 10 winners, and they got local gift cards to local restaurants or prizes of their choice, it was fun. It was just a take care of yourself, low key, do as you wish challenge. So our hope is to do another one of those this in May or June at the end of the year. We also have safety committees. Each building and department has a safety committee. More than likely, they're doubled up with like a building committee that they also talk about safety. So they're ensuring that if there's workplace injuries or if there are safety concerns in the building or the department, that administration and the committee is aware of it, and then they address it and figure out what do they have to do in order to make sure that that the buildings and the departments and the grounds are physically safe for our staff. And we process workplace injury reports, and we collaborate closely with our insurance company when there's a workers' compensation claim, and making sure that the staff know what they need to do, are supported with injury reports and injuries needs, whether they need to be out of work, what happens with their pay, all of those confusing times, and also just making sure that they are okay, and making sure that they know what the expectations are from the district. So Karen and I do a lot of that as well. So our next steps with that is we would like to be a part of the workplace incentive program through Maine Municipal. A few years back, the board did sign an authorization form, and we're in the process of working through that. So hopefully next year we'll be able to start getting percentage and deductions. Could be up to 10% deductions on our contributions to workers' compensation premiums. So that's a really good incentive program that requires us to have policies in place and procedures and protocols. So we're working through that. Continued training for staff. What does it look like in order to make sure our staff are safe, both physically, socially, emotionally? And then Stacy Vanna is a high school teacher. She is the chair for the wellness committee, I believe it's called, at the high school. And I know that the high school has a pretty robust wellness committee, and I believe that the other schools have wellness committees in their own way, but hoping to have a district wellness committee of people that are like-minded, that really enjoy talking about staff wellness, whether it's social emotional wellness, financial wellness, physical wellness, mindfulness, things of that nature, and trying to get a district-wide level committee going so that we can have programs and in place for staff, and whether it's incentives or challenges or activities, things of that nature, that we can just kind of support staff in lots of different ways for staff wellness. Another large part of the job of any educator is data and reports. So we have lots of data and reports that we do in our office, and we have the NEO staff report, which is something that we do every October, that notifies the Department of Education who our staff members are, and all the information from certification to salary and what they teach and what they do. That all goes to the Department of Ed. We collect demographic and race and ethnicity data. We have OSHA workplace injury. We ensure that any legislative updates, the FMLA just was updated this past year, any policy updates or procedures that come from the legislature or the federal government, we want to make sure that we're collecting the data and doing any reports we need to in order to be compliant. We also maintain the seniority lists for all of the collective bargaining agreements. And next steps, we are, I think, almost officially a year into using our new payroll software, Infinite Visions. So we're just making sure that our payroll system is, that the data in there is accurate, it's up to date. We're a year in. So utilizing and learning about that system, as well as trying to make sure that how we collect the data is efficient and effective. So just looking at the protocols and what we do, and trying to make sure that when we have people, we're collecting the data, collecting it at once, and not asking people over and over again to fill out surveys and forms and things of that nature. So some of the things that I've been directly a part of this year for negotiations and collaborative work is I really enjoyed being a part of the Professional Development Task Force. I did that with Sue Ellen, and we co-chaired that to really get that task force up and running, which brought the recommendation to the calendar for the early release days. So that was some really great work that we worked with the staff to figure out what it was that the staff really believed that we need for professional development. Negotiating and working with the HR committee as well as the building administrators for their compensation plan. Currently working on the stipend review committee, the parental leave committee, which has been started up, and working with the BEA, the teachers, the professional collaboration committee that was part of the negotiated agreement. As well as strategic planning, and again, working with the teachers on trying to update the staff evaluation model and getting that work going over the next couple of months and throughout next year. So overall, our goals for next year is we want to make sure that our processes align with the strategic plan and the DEIB work that we have been doing in the district. We also, again, want to make sure that our training and compliance structures are in place for new hires, and including substitutes. We want to make sure our substitutes are included in that, as well as our current employee groups, making sure we're in compliant there. Again, continuing to review and update the new teacher induction program, and also expand for other employee groups. I actually met with Dave Como a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about it, and he asked, is there anything we do for ed techs? And so it would be really, really nice to have some sort of new induction or new supports or mentor programs for not only the ed techs, but the other staff in the district as well. So trying to expand some sort of mentoring or some sort of induction program for all new hires in the district, and as well as, making our new teacher one a little bit more robust. Again, updating the teacher professional evaluation model, increasing information in our shared Google Drive. The payroll, finance, and HR office, we meet weekly, and we're hoping to create information, instruction, videos, directions, documents, and put it in a shared drive that we currently have, so that when staff have questions, they have a place that they can go to gather information and to kind of to help them with how to fill out their time card and how to put in for a leave request, and just all of the questions that we get all the time that we can kind of point people to help them out. And the staff wellness program, trying to figure out a way to support wellness for all our staff, and then to just continue looking at protocols and procedures, trying to make them more efficient. I think Dr. Potenziano's budget this year was about efficiency. I think our goal ultimately is to look at our practices, make sure that they're effective, make sure that they're working, and make sure that they're efficient. We are a large district, and we want to make sure that people are utilizing their time and spending their time on what matters most, which is the kids. And so trying to remove the barriers of paperwork as much as possible, but also making sure that we have the accountability and the protocols in place so that it all works out and we all can communicate. So I know it wasn't as snazzy and fancy as the having kids come up and sing or do awesome poems. But if you have any questions, I'm glad I was able to share just a little bit of what the HR department does here in Brunswick.
Thank you so much for coming and for sharing that and for all the great work you do, and to Karen, too, for all the work that you've been doing all along. And so it's really nice to see all of these new initiatives, but also carrying on. So thanks for being here. Yeah. Erica?
Thank you, and thanks so much for coming, Dawn. I just wanted to ask, and I know you talked a lot in here about general staff wellness, but less so this year, but certainly in the peak pandemic years, I just feel like we've heard a lot about the just complete mental health crisis among both students, certainly, and then also among teachers. And, it can certainly, I'm sure it's really challenging for staff to manage students who are themselves in a pretty wobbly mental health space. Can you talk a little bit about the resources that are available for staff, both for themselves and then also for helping students?
Yeah, I mean, right now we have Anthem, our health insurance. We have the member assistance program that has some really good online benefits and free benefits for staff that they can access. We also have other resources that we can point people to support them in mindfulness and things of that nature. I think that's that's another goal of mine, right? That's another goal of like the district having a district committee. I don't want to use the word committee, it's just another committee, but a district group of people that are able to have that collective resource, that a collective ability to, whether it's providing an activity. I had a teacher reach out a while ago that said, I'm a yoga instructor and I'd love to provide yoga for half an hour before school on 2 days a week. Can I do that? And we're like, hey, let's figure out how we can make it work, right? So it's things like that we can try to create and try to provide. And then if we can't do that, being able to have a list or a list of resources or local connections that they can find. So I think it's another way of connecting with local organizations as well, right? Because we as a school can't do it all, but if we can find partnerships of local area that people can go to. So right now, I would lean people toward our MAP program, and also just asking people to come in and talk to me, and we try to find ways that we can support them at school and what they're doing in their work hours and things like that. But we definitely need to have a lot of work to do in that arena.
Do you get a sense of just the general vibe from staff now, and if it's different now than it was a year ago, or kind of where people are?
Oh, I just think everyone's burned out. I know we're past the pandemic, the height of the pandemic, right? But it's just a different world now, right? And so I feel like everyone expected things to kind of go back, or were expected that things were supposed to go back to normal, and we're not going to be back pre-COVID, right? Our world is not 2019 anymore. And so it's just a huge culture shift that we have to kind of figure out how to navigate that. And I think that it's just a matter of us listening and understanding of what their needs are, and trying to, we have to kind of address the root, and I don't know if we're able to get to the root cause yet. We're kind of dealing with the symptoms, and we're putting Band-Aids on things, but we have to get to the root of it, and that's a lot of work, which I think what I'm finding and what I'm hearing from administrators, at least what I'm hearing, is people are willing to do the work. It's just we got to figure out how to get there. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And I'll just say I see the same kind of thing in my own professional life too, and I feel like it's collective, and we all are affecting each other too.
It's definitely not an educational thing. It's workplace. It's just I think world in general right now, which is, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Sarah?
In the past, we've done school culture climate surveys. Are you a fan of those? Would you want to see one for employees just to get a sense of where people are
I mean,
at?
I think so. I think, again, it's like another survey. Some people are like, oh gosh, she's sending out another survey. So I would hope, I think that that's a way that you can get people to be honest, because sometimes, you put people in a room in a staff meeting and say, hey, what's going on with staff culture and climate? And no one's going to really say what they want to say. So it does allow you to kind of, people can tell you without it being feeling it being judged, right? So it is something we could probably talk about in our administrative group to see if the administrators believe that we'll get the data that we would hope to get to actually make. And I think another thing is too, if you're going to do kind of like the exit survey, right? If you're going to ask people to do a survey, then you better do something with it and show that you're doing something with it, because the next time you ask, you're going to be like, they didn't do anything with the last one, so why am I going to solve? You know what I mean? So we have to, if we're going to collect the data, we then want to make sure we're going to do something with it. So we have to kind of be poignant about specifically what question, because I worry that if you ask too much and you get too much, and then you feel like you're not doing anything because you're just overwhelmed with the amount of data that comes your way. So we kind of, if we can target what we really want to gather, then I don't think that would be, I think that would be a good thing to get information from staff, especially since we have like 500 of them.
Any other questions? Thank you so much for coming, for spending the time to prepare that
Yeah,
for us.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Karen.